Hypocrisy.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Law Splaining the Interwebs. I'm your host, Nick Ricada of Ricada Law, a small law firm in central Minnesota, and I made it. Somehow got in there by 11:30. Oh my God. I feel like a different person today. Jason. Wow. That was great. How you guys doing? How are you guys doing? Just a second. Just a second. Almost got all my shit fucking organized. 2 minutes late on your clock. Well, your clock's stupid and gay. You think about that? Not the gays are stupid, but it's stupid and gay on its own. Still have socks on. That's the worst part of this. Oh my gosh, guys. Christmas. Christmas is in a couple days. Why are my eyes blue now? My eyes have always been blue, Kimbo Nice. The problem is you're too busy looking at my tits. Getting away. All right. Okay. Damn it. The reason I'm on time is because nothing is set up, obviously. Holy shit. All right, guys. How are you doing? Man, today, I don't know about y'all. I don't know about how Christmas works in y'all's house, but Christmas with me and Lady Raggeds always works out some brand of similar to this, where it's like the last second and we are finally finishing up shopping and getting everyone gifts. Actually, I think there's only one person in this house who doesn't have their gifts like finalized and the shopping done. That's me not having shopped for Lady Raggeds at all. So why do I crop out my entire body? I don't know. What, do you want a full body shot? Like, is that the camera you want? Really? Is that the law show you're looking for? I don't know. I've always just had kind of a close shot. It's weird, like looking at everyone and their setups differently. This is completely pointless topic, but it's just a matter of personal opinion. I always find it weird when someone's like way zoomed out and you can see a whole bunch of them, but you see like a whole bunch of like shit around them. And you guys got to know, you're looking at a narrow lane of order in a chaotic life. Everything you see here and it's not even that clean. This is all an illusion to let you know that there may have been something clean once, like one time something was semi-straightened up. And this isn't even a good example. It's mostly just fucking disaster. But everything else around it is a tornado of constant, shit everywhere, just junk. Oh my God. Because I am not an organized and neat person, which is why my brain works the way it does as well. But yeah, it's weird seeing other people's setups because I'm like, well, that's kind of like cool. Like they're set up and they got this like bunch of space. And you can see them like reclining their whole body, like if they're wearing a cool shirt or whatever, you can tell. And then there's me. It's like every time I look at that, I'm like, I don't like the way that looks. Like, why is there all this extra space? So I don't know. Just the way kind of I do it. No specific reason. Luis Velez says, hey, Nick, I'm a rare gay in your audience. It looks like there aren't that many others. Oh, you don't have to insult the size of my audience. No, just kidding. There are fellow gays out there for you. Don't worry. There are fellow gays. There are plenty of them. They're all over the place, actually. We're thinking of running a campaign to out them. Just kidding. TRSP says the only reason we don't get a full body shot is because he looks like a freaky alien genotype. Lefag. Well, yeah. Yeah. But all right. Can you imagine a federal magistrate, all she could do is copy and paste her order? That doesn't surprise me at all, actually. Okay, what are we talking about tonight? Whew. Oh, first, we're going to go back to this. Yeah, we finished, Lady Rackets and I finalized shopping today, which is a chore and a half, if only because the shopping around our little town is a little town. It's a tiny little town. And so there's just not a lot of options for stores. We can get most of the stuff here for kind of basic stuff, but if you want anything specialized, you got to go far. And, it's not super easy. And today we had to go, we had to go like an hour away to get to a town with some reasonable stores and shit to get the last couple things. Because when your town don't have it, you got to go somewhere else. If you're in like a metro area, you just go a little farther and you get it. Here, you have to go a lot farther. But we were able to get out there and get that done. It was great. You bitch about your town enough, move. It's not that simple. Like moving, if you're like a single person, moving isn't that big. Like it's annoying, but it's not that big of a deal. Like, oh, I'll just uproot my life and go somewhere else. But I have to uproot 7 people's lives and it disrupts like 50 people's lives. So, cousins, aunts, uncles of my kids, stuff like that, grandparents, it's a mess. So it's not that simple to move, unfortunately. Plus, I really like my house and I really like my land. I love my land. I love my property, including the blacks. But I like where I am, except for the fact that it's in Minnesota. But other than that, I mean, the location's really nice. But yeah, so we got that done today, but it is exhausting. Well, it's exhausting in 2 ways. First, it's just generally exhausting to do, Christmas shopping and all that shit. And second, it's more exhausting when it's with Lady Rackets. Because she's awesome. But she's also like organized and like not quite OCD, like not quite there, but close. And so like she's a very like heavy plan on how things need to go. And so then it's like executing that plan is it's always a task. But I'm glad because I wouldn't do it. I would fail. And that'd be great. I'd be like, here's a gift card to like Cracker Barrel or whatever. But Nick needs a whole moving truck just for his whiskey. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's when you got a good back bar and everything's going great. But anyway, guys, we do have a couple topics tonight as we get closer and closer. Hey, what's up, Jessica? I almost put you in timeout instead of pinning the message. That would have been funny. As we get closer and closer to Christmas, things for me get a little bit more laid back and relaxed. In fact, you may have noticed I'm a little lower in my chair lately. And through the magic of television, I'm going to make it look like I'm sitting up more. But I'm just tired. Things are a little bit more relaxed, and I like to kind of keep things a little more conversational. The end of the year's coming up. Everybody's doing stuff, and I don't want to just like hit all the topics super hard or whatever. I like to, when we can get into topics, I like to do it, of course. But I like to take a little bit nicer approach and calm things down, give people some chill action to listen to and interact with. I'm going to try and be interactive with the chat in some of these shows. We have the show tonight. Now, traditionally, Ty and I try to do a live stream on Christmas Eve. Now, you guys may not know, depending on when you join the channel, and if I don't talk about it too often, but one of our traditions that we do just here in our house, Lady Raggets and I, we get a movie for our kids, family movie, and we get some like themed stuff, and we get popcorn and we get movie theater candy and shit like that. And we have a little movie night. And it's part of the kids like gift. We just spend some time. We watch a movie and we just have like this movie night with the kids, and we get like charcuterie, the cheap shitty ones from Walmart or whatever, just like the salami and the salami and pepperoni and the cheese trays or whatever. We just kind of hang out and and the kids all get matching pajamas, and we just have a nice night on Christmas Eve. Now, I typically do a Christmas Eve show with Ty Beard after that. Somewhere between 11 and midnight is the start time. It really depends. But we do kind of just a very subtle, like, hangout show, talking about stuff kind of similar to what we did on Wednesday, but even a little more just, mirth and cheer, and maybe some Christianity topics or some Christmas type discussion. Who knows? Kind of whatever we feel like. But it's this nice cap off to the year that I like to spend with another guy. He's a little bit farther down the parenting road than I am, but he's been a good friend and companion ever since I got to know him. And people think I've known Ty for a very long time. I haven't really known Ty for very long at all, in the grand scheme of things. But since I have, he's a good friend of my family. He's like my uncles. One of my uncles went to college with him. Both of them were friends with him, but or college or high school, I don't remember. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The specifics of this don't matter. But I only met him, a couple years ago. But that being said, he's been a good friend and companion and mentor in a lot of ways to me, as a dad in general, and from a completely different perspective than some other men I know. So it's nice. So we like to have this nice little chat at Christmas time, and we will probably be doing that tomorrow night. But it's not like the normal shows. The scheduling is a little flexible just because I don't know when exactly our movie night's going to be with our kids and all of that stuff. But typically it's before we start the show, before midnight if we can. But I just want to let people know that is going to be there tomorrow. And that's, again, if you're not spending Christmas with family, for maybe your Christmas is scheduled at a different time because of people's travel and stuff like that. Sometimes that's us. Or maybe you just don't really have too many people local to you to spend Christmas with. You can pop in here if you want and just have some good old relaxing conversation with a Southern gentleman and a Northern asshole. But that's kind of the main thing. I don't think I know I will not be doing a Christmas show, a full show on Christmas night, however you fucking word that. I will not be doing a full show. Sometimes I do. This time I will not be doing that. If there's anything on Christmas, I'll announce it on Locals, but I don't know what the timeline would be to have that going. But right now I'm thinking there probably won't be anything. So I don't want people to be looking for that. That said, what is that? That's Monday. Christmas is on Monday, right? Yeah. So I don't think we'll have a Monday show. That's what I'm trying to say. Don't think we'll have a Monday show. What else is there? Oh, and since the Christmas Eve show, we might do a movie on Saturday night here. We might do a movie night here, or on Twitch. I mean, on Saturday. I don't know. I got to see what the schedule's like. That's tomorrow. Fuck, my brain is ruined, guys. Ugh, it's exhausted and spent today, like a cheap hooker on payday. But yeah, so that's kind of the upcoming stuff for the rest of through Christmas. And then, we should have normal kind of shows. I don't know what New Year's is going to be like. We'll see. But that's to set expectations on what's coming up. I wanted people to know that Monday there will not be a show that night. So with that said, we are going to get into the topics tonight. We'll hit some chats and see how that goes. Topics tonight are Jack Smith's timeline for his Trump trial has been pretty effectively destroyed by the Supreme Court, which is interesting because just yesterday, before this happened, I was reading an article about the Supreme Court was definitely going to expedite the Jack Smith's appeal. I thought they would too. I think when I mentioned that they accepted cert on his petition, or they accepted his petition for cert, that I thought they would probably expedite the timeline because it kind of fit the character of it. But hey, they came out and they said no, they're not going to do it. So that means that Trump's trial will effectively be delayed, which is really, really interesting when you get down to it, because it's possible that the Supreme Court's ruling on presidential immunity from criminal suit would come late into the election game, that could be an October surprise right there in and of itself, honestly. And it could even be, we could see the trial date pushed back into possibly 2025, because this has to go through Supreme Court session. A ruling has to come out. This could take 6 months sometimes. It'll be really interesting to see how long that plays out. But his goal was to have the trial going, I think, March 3rd or March 4th, and really disrupt the primary season and dominate, kind of dominate the media. The Supreme Court said no. So we're going to talk about that. That's very funny. And I think I can't, you can't actually know. I think it's very possible that the Supreme Court has indicated right there that they do not, how do I word this? They don't agree with Jack Smith. It's very possible that they're leaning heavily towards presidential immunity on the criminal liability for this stuff. I don't think that this delay bodes well for Jack Smith. That's my point. And, ideally you would want them to just make that ruling right away. I think that would be the thing that you would want. However, for Trump, it's a little different, because these criminal charges look so political, and having the specter of the charge out there seems to have boosted his poll numbers. So we'll kind of talk about that as we go, maybe, if I remember it. It's just my thoughts on it. Like, there's nothing concrete to analyze here. It's literally trying to get into the psychology of 9 special people in robes, and how they, gauge out the election in this legal issue. But I would be nervous if I was Jack Smith on this one. The other topic we definitely have is the Rippaverse ISOM trademark settlement, which is great news, it seems, for Eric July and hopefully the International School of Ministry. It seems like, from what I'm hearing, which is I haven't watched the video. We're going to watch the video and check out Eric's announcements on it. It looks like they have settled, which was not the posture of Eric going into this thing, but it seems like they've come to a resolution, which is great. And from what I'm hearing, there's no money exchange. People are very doubtful of that. I don't think there's any reason to be doubtful of that. Some people have asserted that, like, no plaintiffs or no settlements occur without the plaintiff getting something. I don't know where people get that idea. Settlements happen all the time with little to no money, exchange, even with plaintiffs paying out sometimes. I think it's perfectly reasonable that they could come to a no money conclusion depending on the other circumstances. Now, settlements are often private, so without the actual details being published or mentioned by the parties. And I would assume there's probably a clause in there for some confidentiality. There typically is. And the main reason you have confidentiality clauses, despite what most people think, is because if the terms of some type of trademark settlement from the plaintiff were to be released, then the plaintiff would have less leverage in future trademark settlements, because they could point to another thing and say, hey, you did this for them. We have kind of this expectation and stuff like that. And so they tend to keep, and same with the defendants, right? Like, if the Rippaverse were to be hit with another similar trademark lawsuit over a different comic book name or something like that, then someone would know kind of maybe what they were willing to pay or willing to give up, as it were. So we'll talk about it. We'll watch the video. I haven't watched it yet. I've seen some chatter about it online. From the start of this lawsuit, I did think it was kind of funny, just because, like, people were going after this ministry. It was not helping at all. But at the same time, I'd said always that Eric shouldn't have to deal with this. This is a waste of time, waste of money. And I was really, I was not gonna lie, obviously, I was half concerned, but I was also half laughing at the fact that they may have been digging themselves deeper into the lawsuit with responses and with the fan interactions. And it kind of looked that way for a while, but I'm glad they actually resolved it. I never really liked the trademark lawsuit. I did talk about the possibility of the reactions of people creating more and more of a case as it went, but I'm thankful that that seems to have been resolved. But we'll watch the video and see what they say, see if there's any conclusions we can draw. I'm going to guess it's pretty straightforward, and there's not much we're going to be able to actually come up with on this. But the main thing is frivolous lawsuits suck. Now, ISOM may not have thought it was frivolous. If it ultimately had merit, didn't have merit, whatever it turns out to be, it's settled now. And no one wants to be on the receiving end of a lawsuit because they waste money and time that could be spent doing anything else in the world. So glad that is done. But we will keep talking about that as we get to it. There may be some other topics. Oh, there's also one thing we didn't go through is my lawyers have actually responded in a reply brief to Montegraph's lawyers in our appeal. And we might go through that. It's not very long. And it's a pretty damn solid argument that, again, it kind of guts Monty's entire claim. But the question is, will the appeals court accept it? There's not a lot of authority from this circuit on this issue. So it's almost a novel point of law here, and we'll have to see what they do. But we can go through that probably tonight as well. It won't take too terribly long. Okay, let's hit these super chats, and then we will get done or get into it here. Renogenic says, I did something stupid earlier. Now I'm kind of screwed because I might have to get an ambulance. It's been 13 years since I last slipped. Please have a word with the big guy Pope. I'm a Protestant. Nadalig, I don't know. That looks like a fucking Irish. Nadolig Yewen X. Bro, are you okay? I mean, I think that was intentionally typed because it's got some accented words, but I hope you call an ambulance. Seriously. If you think you might need an ambulance, get an ambulance. Are you overdosing or something? Fuck me. Welsh. Oh, you're still typing, so you're alive. What's up, brother? You okay? It's Christmas. We'll take a quick stop. You all right, brother? Renogenic in the chat. This wouldn't have happened if you'd just been late. You know, Richard, that's a good point. Dude, I hope you're good. I hope you're good. If you think you need an ambulance, call him immediately. Giant cut. A giant cut. It's stopped bleeding now. Self-harm, man. Dude, if you're there, please get help. Please fucking get help. You are not Papa Roach. You need to get that shit under control. I don't know what... So 13 years since you last slipped. Dude, I will pray for you after the stream. Someone did say, yeah, Alex says it's gay to die midstream, bro. It is gay to die midstream. That's true. So make sure you get that. Make sure you get whatever you need. But I will toss some prayers up. I'll call the Pope on my Pope phone. Saber Dragon 65 says, love your Rittenhouse interviews, but all I want for Christmas is for you to get him on a show with Camelot. Just see how red the poor kid gets. Happy Christmas and Merry New Year's to you and yours. Look, if when Kyle's all done with all of his lawsuits, if he wants to come hang out for like a stream full of just like, you know, unhinged jokes and shit, we happily do it. But that man, you know, he needs to go through his fucking legal issues. He needs to, you know, kind of keep his cool, keep his head up, and get that shit taken care of, because the fucking post-defense punishment of Kyle Rittenhouse is almost as brutal as, you know, the attempted murder. All right, we got this. It's time to do it. 18-year Knob Creek. I bought this several weeks ago. I've been waiting for the right time to try it. We're going to do it tonight. Oh, God damn. Strong wax seal. Jessica Reloaded says Recato Law loves knobs, and that's why he goes for Knob Creek. All right. Well, yeah. At least this one's not a minor. What are you buying, Jessica? 3-year aged? Mm-hmm. All right. We do have some locals chats as well. Timothy 208 says, just want to say Merry Christmas to Nick and his family. Thanks for late night drunk streams. They definitely helped me get through this year. Let's make 2024 a year that trumps all others. Timothy, if I get to be some entertainment that brings you through some times into your own space and brings you through a year live, I'm happy to be a part, brother. Cheers. Dougie Tats, any trials coming up for the new year? I think Courtney Clenny is pushed to January or March or something. Trump's Georgia trial, I think, is still set for March. That'll actually be aired. The Trump trial will be a scheduled clearing trial for me. So we'll have to, that's good. Fuck me. We'll have to check that out as it goes and as it gets closer. That's an interesting one because we'll get into this, but if Trump has immunity from criminal suit, it changes a lot of the calculi here. But Trump's Georgia trial isn't currently stayed, but if the Supreme Court is ruling on criminal immunity for the president for his actions in the Jack Smith stuff, he would similarly be immune in Georgia, which means they might petition to have the Georgia trial stayed pending the outcome of the Supreme Court. So that might not happen. I mean, they'd want to do that. That's good. That's good. So some whiskeys, as they age them, they get a little less harsh. That's kind of the process or the point of it. And that doesn't always mean it's good or bad or whatever. This one has kept some of the harshness, which you kind of like it a little rough sometimes. Wendy H says, can't wait to see you in a Lego stream with MLS and Valhalla. Oh, are they pressuring me that way now? I wanted to do one the past 2 months. I think they invited me November and December, and neither date has been good for me. They sent me the dates for January, and I'm hoping to make one of them work. I just got to find out. I got to get through Christmas before I can think of anything else. Hey, what's up, Quartering? How you doing, brother? Says, where's the implied nudity? You think I'm wearing pants? Do you stream in pants, Jeremy? Jack of the Dead says, Merry Christmas, Gunta Claus. Thanks for being you. Merry Christmas to you and yours, and a Happy New Year. And I guess I have to share this. Which I think is just rude to do this to me. What have I done to you? You're not supposed to dox me, but here you go. There you go. Hey, Jeremy, have a Merry Christmas too, man. I hope this year's been great for you. It sure looks like it has, and I hope next year's even better. So there you go. All right, let's. Charlie says, since when does Nick wear a watch? I just got this one. It's kind of cool, but it's a watch that's in blackface. All right, it's a watch that's in blackface, so I had to get it. You're gonna get so much fatter in 2024. Why? Why would you want to do that to yourself? Just get skinny, man. Stop eating. Oh, shit. Renogenic, holy shit, says, it's all stopped. Blood. I have a tourniquet on. I'm not in danger. Just slipped, but I caught myself. Dude, be careful, please. And if that's an issue that you have to deal with, get someone to talk to. I don't know what you're going through, but whatever it is, those are again, permanent solutions, temporary problems. I know it looks dark. We've all been there. We've all been through those fucking dark times, but taking it to the extreme that's not the answer. Leonard says the cigar lounge I go to will let me take closed containers in. closed containers, but not open containers out. What are some good small bottles of whiskey? Small bottles tend to not be good by nature, right? Like but I mean, you can get little Woodford Reserves are always good. Some of the reliable brands, I mean, they taste the same from the little bottles as they do from the 750s or whatever. But I don't know. Maybe you're looking for like a 275 or I think there's 275 or 250. Those tend to not be the greatest whiskeys. I don't know what you can find. But yeah, Woodford's a good one, man. You can get those little shitty bottles of them. Stephen Cooper says, have you heard any of the Woodford's Masters collection? I won a 4-wood at auction. We'll let you know how it is when it arrives. What auction were you at? Were you bidding on 4 woods? One guy gets a bottle of whiskey. He's like, this is not what I ordered. But, whew, damn. Dougie Tats and Art says, February and March sound good for an ink visit? Yes. Yep. Yeah. Let's talk on that. I've been dying to get some new stuff. And I think Lady Ragged says too. So hit me up, brother. Text me. We'll set it up. Maybe we can actually organize this shit. That'd be great. All right. We got 2 more. Stapled Lips says, I'd like a toast to my old life. I'm throwing off anonymity and will resume my name on the internet. I'd rather just have my principles than play this game anymore. I was me before anyone cared. My kids are grown. I can just suffer my own consequences. Expect a Twitter DM with a real ID. Thank you, Nick. You got me through. Who the fuck are you? Like, I'm glad. Sorry, that was a weird and overly violent response from me. But no, that's a cool, interesting thing. I'm curious to see who that is. To Stapled Lips, casting off your old life, becoming non-anonymous, standing behind your words with your own name. Not that it's required, but there is something to it. And personally, I think it's pretty freeing. There are things I would have done differently. And anonymity is one of them that I've considered for a long time, but I don't know that it would have ever been the same as being who I am, and being who I am, you know, kind of unapologetically. So cheers to you. May that new endeavor be profitable for you. It'll be interesting to see that DM. Richard Stockton says, Ricada Law changing lives. Be honest, how badly do we scare you with how seriously we take your show? Very, very. But I really appreciate it. It's a nice compliment. Random NPC number 3 says, Ricada Law, if you get a chance, watch this trailer. The American Society of Magical Negroes is coming to theaters this spring. Well, maybe we'll watch it on YouTube, or on Rumble when we do the flip. So that'd be interesting. Just as a side point, I know I'm not actually trying to delay here, but I know it's effectively delaying the topics. It's such kind of an unexpected part of this gig is just what impact you end up having on people's lives that you never like expected ever. And it's really cool. It's not like you do anything specific or special. There's just what it'll be is you do something or say something or whatever, and it resonates with someone at that time for some reason that probably only they know. Something in their life makes the words that you say particularly relevant. And you get a lot of feedback from people saying, hey, thanks, you really helped me through this. You had no idea that you're doing it, but they say, thanks, you really helped me through this or whatever. And I was like, oh, well, cool. It's funny when they like mention a specific thing and you're like, wow, that one got you through. All right, that's cool. I thought maybe I was going to get executed for that, but I'm glad you're in it. But it's weird. It's never what you expect. And you don't know the people. And often they'll say, I don't usually chat. I don't usually comment. I just want to let you know, you really helped through this time or this time. You know, my wife left me. I lost my job. My parents died, and you know, just some comforting thing. Or I heard a toast and it wasn't for me, but it really spoke out. You know, like, dude, I was just telling jokes for money typically, but I'm glad. And it's that's the interesting benefit I've shit on parasocial sort of aspects of this gig, so to speak, quite a bit, because they can produce very strange results. But the advantage of it, why this kind of medium persists and is so successful and is growing all over the world, is that there's this tangible benefit having so many people that aren't put through a corporate filter and just kind of get this raw variety that's organic. And when you have that, you meet more people where they are, right? Because you're getting the voice of people from broader perspectives and broader lifestyles, life choices, life situations, and even individual circumstance. And so, I started my show 6 years ago as a pretty young lawyer. And yet, you start to encounter a lot of people in law school through the show and or considering law school, and you end up impacting how they do things. And it's pretty cool. Like, sorry if I ruined something for you, but you do have that impact. And, I'm always just humbled by it, honestly, because thanks. It's nice hearing that shit. It really makes you feel like maybe you aren't wasting your time doing this stuff. Because you can get lost in the numbers, you can get lost in money and, this is a job or whatever. And you can get really like caught up in the workings of it. And that's fine. Like, but you want what you do to mean something more than, a 1099, right? I think. I don't know. Low Watermark says, I got the only bottle of pure Kentucky that my local store had. Drinking it tonight. It's real good, like you said the other night. Yes. And it's cheap as shit. I think I finished mine. Here it is. Oh yeah, it's gone. Pure Kentucky. It's gone, but I'll get another one. They're not expensive and they're good fucking bottles. What's up, Christopher Dominguez? All right. Michael Burke says, "Hey Nick, can I get a toast to Fraulein, my 14-year-old pug? Should be put to sleep Wednesday and she will be dearly missed." To Fraulein, a pug companion, the cutest little ugly motherfuckers on the planet. You know exactly what I'm talking about. And, having to separate from something who's become, who's gone from this little, cute animal pet to, family member and companion for so many, like separating from that sucks. It's the worst part of owning animals, but you also realize that you'd probably do it again because of what they do to you. Cheers to Fraulein. May she rest in peace. All right, here we go. Let's one more. Tea Party Meister. Merry Christmas, Mr. Knowles Lawyer. Shout to my boy Frijoles. Boy's name is Beans. All right. Let's do this. Where the fuck are we here? So this is reported earlier today, fucking late in the day, 7 Central, 8 Eastern. Fuck off. Fix it next time. So Supreme Court declines to fast track Trump immunity dispute and blow to special counsel. The Supreme Court on Friday declined for now to take up a landmark case over whether former President Donald Trump is absolutely immune from prosecution for alleged crimes committed while he was in office, a move that allows the appeals process to play out first. So now we've got this, thing. They were skipping the appellate court, and now they're not going to, which is hilarious. The court issued a one-line unsigned order denying the request from Special Counsel Jack Smith. The petition for a writ of cert before judgment is denied. There were no noted dissents. This is not good. This does not look good for Jack. This does not look good for Jack. This looks like the Supreme Court is ready to undertake a full briefing, both through the appellate process. And this is an important part. This is why you wanted to go through the appellate process. This is going to get briefed in the Court of Appeals. Then it's going to get ruled on and reasoned through by some judges at the DC Circuit. And then it's going to get briefed before the Supreme Court. which means a whole lot of research from both adversarial parties and allegedly neutral panel of appellate judges, and maybe even an en banc panel of judges, which would take even longer after the appellate ruling, will all be briefing and offering opinions and research into this topic. This indicates that they are ready to take this. They know. I mentioned when they first were talking about this that this is it's going to have to go to the Supreme Court, which is why I was thinking they may want to do the expedited schedule and get it in there and get this thing going, because they've got a rule on it. They're going to take it eventually anyway. But now this indicates them being ready to create law. They're going to be creating law around this issue. It's going to last forever. It's going to be something that changes the scope of American politics one way or the other. Can a president, for acts committed while president, be criminally charged? If he can be criminally charged for acts committed while president, what is the extent of those acts in regards to his duty as president? Do they have to be overt acts as the chief executive? Are they in the outer perimeter of the acts of the president as they are in a civil lawsuit? Is it simply criminal immunity from any case absent a successful impeachment? Maybe it is. Maybe it goes that far. We don't know. The Supreme Court will now take this up, hear full briefing on it after the appellate court does, and then they will actually create the law around presidential immunity, which is not something in the criminal context, which is not something that exists currently. It's not in the Constitution. Neither is civil immunity. This presidential immunity is inferred from the separation of powers. The separation of powers creates one specific enumerated process by which a president can be challenged and punished by another branch, by the two other branches of government, and that is the impeachment process. It's laid out pretty specifically how it happens, and it's directly specialized for the president. I mean, anyone can be in government can be impeached through the process, the federal government, but the president himself has a special process by which the full House or the full Senate has to hear the case, and it has to be presided over by the Chief Justice of the United States. So it's possible that they will use impeachment as a precursor, a prerequisite to criminal charges. Trump he's made the argument, and I don't think it's a great argument, to be very clear. I do not think that impeachment triggers double jeopardy, as his lawyers have argued. But just because I don't think it does, and because I don't think it's a good argument under the Constitution, does not mean that there isn't some type of pseudo double jeopardy specifically created by the language of the impeachment clause, which says that an impeachment is not a criminal conviction. And after impeachment, a president may be criminally charged and convicted separately. That's an indicator that the impeachment could be interpreted as part of a sort of double jeopardy that's created specifically for the president in the Constitution. Does it mean that it is? No, we don't know. How will the Supreme Court take that? What will they craft? Maybe that's the theory. If you can't impeach a president, can you then can't successfully impeach him? Can you then subsequently use criminal charges as a backup? Well, once you're out of office, you're fucked. Oh, okay. Unless you self-pardon. Well, if Trump would have self-pardoned in 2020, would he be running now? Would that have destroyed his credibility? We don't know. If it could have potentially destroyed his ability to be a candidate right now. In theory, Trump could have pardoned himself for any and all acts that he committed as president and just made himself immune to criminal liability. That's another angle we've got to consider. As an extension of the pardon power, which is plenary and unchallengeable, can a president of the United States effectively, automatically pardon himself for any federal liability? And by extension, any state liability, remembering that the specific way to punish a president is impeachment. Now, if he pardons himself, however, is impeached and removed, does that invalidate a presidential pardon of the president himself? Maybe it does, which would then allow impeachment. They have the ability to craft a system of quote unquote regulating a president that fits within the words of the Constitution, but isn't something that we see because it's not explicitly laid out. But civil immunity isn't either. Civil immunity is derived from the idea that official acts of the president cannot be challenged by the judiciary, who is an alternate branch of government. That would give them a power imbalance over the executive, while there should be a separation of powers. Can we do that? Can we allow them to do that? The Supreme Court said no. You can't have civil liability clouding every decision of the president as president, even in the outer perimeter of acts as president. If it's even in the scope of potential presidential acts, civil immunity. That does mean that you can still be civilly liable for personal acts done while president, but have nothing to do with the office of the president. But it's a pretty broad net. This net could be similarly broad based on these ideas of the separation of powers, or it could be something different, carved out through inferences through all of these different little clauses in the Constitution, centering around things like impeachment and the language around criminally prosecuting a president following an impeachment, implying that maybe you can't prior to an impeachment or absent a successful impeachment. And then similarly, building from the idea of the power of the pardon. Should a president be forced to expend political capital to pardon himself? Maybe. Does a president effectively automatically pardon himself right before leaving office if not impeached? Maybe. These are good questions. And there's a lot of tools for the Supreme Court to use. There's going to be a lot of very smart lawyers crafting arguments and proposing different sort of frameworks around it. And if any of those lawyers want to contact me about the thing that I just came up with off the top of my head, based on a couple different passages, and work to flesh out those ideas, you know where to find me. I probably won't answer your email, but if you send a dick joke, I'll probably read it. All right. Okay. But no noted dissents means no matter what the political or, ideological disposition of the justices are, they know this issue has to come before the Supreme Court. Denying the accelerated briefing or the accelerated petition is an indicator that they will be allowing a lot of people to do a lot of work on this issue and give it the full rigor. So, Charlie says, so send you dick pics. I said dick jokes, so that's your own judgment, brother. Oh shit, Outpost Nerd says, Merry Christmas. Hope all the coal you're going to get keeps you warm, you Shasta lawyer. People on X saying that Trump doesn't get innocent until proven guilty. Now there are rumors that 16 states are looking to take him off ballots. Yeah, that's going to be an interesting one. I really am not sure that the states have the authority to determine a president is participated in an insurrection independently of an actual conviction. But we'll see. That one's going to have to go to the Supreme Court as well. Jack Sparrow says, a toast to my wife. She left me, but left the kids. Hats off to the bitch for not destroying everything. Holy shit. We can do that. Here we go. To Jack Sparrow. Actually, a toast to his wife. Let's get the fuck out of here. A toast to the wife of Jack Sparrow. Well, the ex-wife, I guess, or soon-to-be ex-wife, who has recently left him, but left him the kids. He says, hats off to that bitch for not destroying everything. In a angry, but probably sincere nod to the idea that she could have really made him fight for children. But in the act of displaying that she was not interested in being there, a small mercy was granted to him, and the pain that would have been suffered over that fight for someone who didn't ultimately want it. In all honesty, a cheers to the family as a whole, wherever they may end up and wherever they may be, that everybody finds peace, resolution, and safety, especially those children, that they may be cared for by Jack going forward. Cheers to you, brother. I don't want to toast your wife for leaving you just because she left you the kids in that small mercy. but I would like to toast you, your new endeavor as a single dad. May it bring you peace and consolation to raise your children and know that you're in control of their fates rather than someone who does not seem to be trustworthy. Cheers, brother. All right. Back to this. The Supreme Court's decision Friday is a blow to Smith, which he liked, and his team of prosecutors, who are all gay, who have pushed the courts to move quickly to hold trials in the Washington case and the second prosecution in Florida before the presidential election swings into full gear. Trump's attorneys, meanwhile, have urged the courts to delay the trials until after the election. Pretty interesting. Like, why do they need to prosecute him before the election? It's a problem. If he's elected, oh, wait, what happens if he's elected? We run the trials, right? Of the president. Oh, no, they'll probably get delayed till afterwards. He could probably pardon himself if necessary after he's elected. But if you get him, if you get the trials going or whatever, get him convicted after election, you could just impeach him to remove him from office. But I don't know if you're going to get a trial on a sitting president, criminal trial for crimes from years and years ago. It's going to be rough. Going to be rough there, Jackie. The special counsel's office declined to comment on the court's decision. Oh, why? Why? The Supreme Court has unanimously rejected deranged Jack Smith's desperate attempt to short circuit our great Constitution, Trump wrote in a post to his Truth Social platform Friday afternoon. Crooked Joe Biden and his henchmen waited 3 years to bring the sham case, not a good case. And now they've tried and failed to rush this witch hunt through the courts. Of course, I am entitled to presidential immunity. Maybe. I think there's a strong argument for it. The High Court's rejection paves the way for U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia Circuit to rule first on whether the former president can be prosecuted for allegedly attempting to thwart the transfer of presidential power after the 2020 presidential election. The move does not preclude the losing party, Trump or Smith, from seeking the Supreme Court's review again after the appeals court makes its determination. And now I want to offer an opinion here. I don't know what the DC circuit will do. You never know. But based on existing precedent, there is no presidential immunity. It doesn't exist for criminal cases. There have been inferences that it should exist in dicta, but that wasn't the question before the court, so they didn't actually create it. And remember, it has to be created. It's not plainly listed in the Constitution. So you got a couple options. The DC court will simply say that there is no such thing as presidential immunity in the Constitution. The Supreme Court can then take up the issue. They could try to craft their own presidential immunity based on the dicta of the previous Supreme Courts who have talked about it, and then again using tips from the Constitution on how to craft it, and then the Supreme Court will have its say, or they could just grant him immunity. Say it's the same as civil immunity. We already have the framework for it, and this is what they would do. And that's not really crafting, but just borrowing from the civil immunity framework and go from there. They have those three options. We'll see what they choose. I think most likely they'll deny presidential immunity for criminal cases because the Supreme Court has never said it exists. If I were me, and I am, I would expect Trump to lose at the DC Court of Appeals. And I think that's probably the reasonable legal conclusion at this time, even though I ultimately do think he should prevail to the Supreme Court in having some level of criminal immunity as president. The next question will simply be, do these acts fall under that umbrella of immunity? I think it is logical, reasonable, and based on the ideas of civil immunity and the ideas of the separation of powers. I think it is sound constitutional reasoning that presidential immunity from criminal acts does exist within the Constitution as the civil immunity in the same manner. I mean, that the civil immunity exists. But until we have that ruling from the Supreme Court, I don't think the appeals court in good conscience can actually make that ruling. So I would expect him to lose at the DC Court of Appeals. He will then claim it's partisan, blah, 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 and he'll take it to the Supreme Court, and then they'll ultimately make their ruling and decide what it is. But I can say that even though it will probably in a Venn diagram overlap heavy with their partisanship, I think there is sound legal reasoning for any judge honestly looking at this and looking to the authority of the Supreme Court and looking to the Constitution itself to say this doesn't exist as it's written. The Supreme Court has to create something here. But that doesn't mean that the district court or the DC Circuit can't do it. They can. They can find presidential immunity. They can find their own format for it. And again, the Supreme Court will round it out. So they may do that, but I think they may rule against it. That's mine. No way to know. But I like to make predictions so I can be wrong. Looking forward to the very important arguments on presidential immunity in front of the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals, Trump wrote Friday, but it could impact the timing of the trial, which is set to begin March 4th. Oh, you're fucked, buddy. In Washington, D.C., depending on how quickly proceedings in the appeals court play out, D.C. case has been paused while Trump pursues his appeal. Whether the prosecution can move forward hinges on the outcome of the dispute over his immunity claim. 3-judge panel on the appeals court is already moving with unusual speed to take up the matter. Argument scheduled for January 9th. So they are still trying to do it, but that doesn't matter. They can have arguments January 9th. They can have a ruling within a week, and the Supreme Court will still likely take up cert on it and not expedite it, but we'll see. Panel sides with Smith and finds Trump is not immune. The former president could then appeal that decision to either the full appeals court, which he definitely will ask for an en banc review, or ask the Supreme Court to review the case at that point. Smith could do the same if the court sides with Trump. Actually, either of them could do the same if the outcome they got is not sufficient. Like, if Trump wins the concept of presidential immunity, but they don't craft a presidential immunity system that covers the acts he's accused of, they could appeal and say that presidential immunity is bigger as well. It's not an all or nothing proposition here. Smith could do, if the Supreme Court declines, the appellate court's decision will stand. If the justices agree to take it up, they will have the final say. Smith's prosecution will either be able to move forward or Trump will be immune from prosecution for acts he committed while in office. No, this isn't actually. There's a third option. Come on, guys. It could be, they could find presidential immunity exists and they could remand to the district court for briefing on the issue of whether or not the acts alleged fall under the category of whatever framework they're creating. Are we in the law? Are we under the statute? Is the question. So if they create a system of immunity or find a system of immunity created in the Constitution that says that certain acts done as president with these sort of tests are immune, Jack Smith would argue that the acts he's accused of, I mean, they may concede on one or two of them, but they will argue that some of the acts are outside the scope of that test. Then that would require remand to the district court, which would then be appealed back up the chain. So that's an interesting proposition. It could really make this case take for fucking ever. Each phase in the process will require legal back and forth and new filings, potential oral arguments, and time for the courts to craft their opinions. Even with the appeals court's rapid timeline for reviewing the immunity issue, trial date could still be pushed back if the matter isn't resolved before March. The ultimate resolution of this before March is unlikely. Unlikely. Damn. What the fuck is happening? Go away. Got a fucking annoying window going on. Hold on. I'm trying to organize my shit. All right. Trump's immunity claim. Let's see what they say here. The current dispute arrived at the nation's highest court on the heels of a decision from U.S. District Judge Tanya Chutkan, who rejected arguments from Trump's legal team that he is entitled to broad immunity from criminal prosecution for acts within the outer perimeter of his official duties. Now, remember, the outer perimeter language is borrowed from the civil immunity standard that was created by or created previously by the Supreme Court. So, I know we know that, like, they keep saying this outer perimeter thing and not contextualizing it, but that comes from the civil immunity language. And this is not a weird limiter. Some articles have stated this in a way that seems to limit it to The Outer Perimeter Acts. No, the Outer Perimeter is this expansive standard that says the inner perimeter of official duties matters. Obviously, these are easy acts as presidents to define. The outer perimeter means these sort of gray area acts might be presidential, might be personal, but if they go at all towards presidential, then they're immune. In her December 1st ruling, Chutkan found that the presidency does not confer a lifelong get out of jail free pass. No, of course it doesn't, Judge Kunkin. God damn it. No, but for the 4 years that you're president, 4 years that you're president, it really, really matters. Like, and for all those acts as 4 years, it's not a lifelong get out of jail free pass. Instead, Trump may be subject to federal investigation, indictment, prosecution, conviction, punishment for any criminal acts undertaken while in office. Yeah, it's not in the, again, it's not explicitly in the Constitution, this presidential immunity idea. Trump was indicted on 4 counts in early August related to an alleged scheme to thwart the peaceful transfer of presidential power after the 2020 presidential election. He pleaded not guilty to all charges. Supreme Court is separately considering a case challenging the reach of a law been used to charge more than 300 people for their alleged participation in January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol, including Trump. A decision from the justice is expected by the end of June. This is actually, if I'm not mistaken, this is a really important one. This was a law that was generated for white collar crime, if I'm not mistaken. Let's check. Ron Bacardi, you tagged me, so I saw it. Your last line got me. Nick, check out Ed Amici on how Jack Smith's appointment as special counsel is illegal, but I know Nick doesn't read the chat. I actually have wanted, like, I saw a blurb about this on Volok Conspiracy, or Volok, whatever it is. You know, the Volok guy, law professor, Volok. And I read his little mini article about it, but it didn't have a link to the amicus brief. And so I wanted to read it. Thank you for letting me know a better way to find it. I've been wanting to look at that. And I don't know if we're going to do it on the show, but it's the really tough part about me reading that is outside of my purview of knowledge of law. Like, that is a very specialized, was the manner of following special counsel or appointing special counsel followed constitutionally in this context? People argue no. If no, Jack Smith has no authority to do any of what he's doing, and it pretty much invalidates everybody brought under heel by Jack Smith or his office in any way, including Trump. And that's funny. But the argument will probably be persuasive, and it'll be really easy to, like, agree with it. But the law around it and how that works is a different story. You might be able to have a really good argument that looks right there and have the courts go, nah, no, it was done. So I'm hesitant to just read it without any experience, but maybe I can find someone who has some good clarifying stuff. You know, there's a guy I know who loves to talk about this stuff. That's probably good to talk about. Maybe Robert Barnes. Maybe I could get Barnes on to talk about that. But yeah, no, that's one that I want to read. So, and Breck says law made because Enron execs shredded documents. Yes, the interfering with acts of Congress act that, or I guess statute that is used to prosecute so many people for January 6th wasn't actually intended for the physical presence of protesters. It was a more white collar sort of approach, either kind of an obstruction of justice through, like they said, Enron destroying documents, people utilizing electronic means and computers, for example, to maybe do like a DDoS type attack on Congress and their servers. Shit like that is what it was designed for. It was not designed for a First Amendment protest that was politically unpopular by one party. Govea did a great piece where he goes through the brief. Maybe he'd be good to bring on. Maybe he and Barnes. I haven't talked to Govea in a long time. He's always been a solid stand-up dude with really, really good show, who's really, really fucking smart. I like him. And I haven't talked to him in a long time. Maybe we get him and Barnes on. We can all have a nice drunken chat about it. I don't think Aveo would drink, but I'll drink for him. After Chutkin denied Trump's request to dismiss the charges brought by Smith on immunity grounds, allowing the case to proceed, the former president asked the D.C. Circuit to review the decision. Appeals court scheduled arguments for January 9th. Once Trump filed his appeal, Smith turned to the Supreme Court and asked it to step in before the appeals court rules. A cornerstone of our constitutional order is that no person is above the law. Not actually true. Not actually true at all. This is such a weird thing. Anyone who makes the argument that no person is above the law in the context that they're making it is idiotic. The context that they're making it is that the law of the common man is the law of the everyman, but it's not. You and I are under different laws than presidents. We're under different law than Congress. We're under different law than police. Qualified immunity is a thing from pretty much any state official. The idea that no one is above the law is belied by every qualified immunity argument that has ever existed. There are clearly people who are above, quote unquote, the law. Now, you can only argue that there is law making them immune from being under the law. And then you go, well, okay, so then this is not actually a useful statement. It's a tautology? Is that it? Let me check. I don't want to say the wrong thing. Tautology, the saying of the same thing twice in different words. Yeah, no one is above the law is basically a tautology. It's saying, well, no one doing legal things is doing anything illegal. Thanks. No one is above the law because the law creates exceptions for some people, therefore they're not above the law. Well, they're still under the law, right? But if there's a law saying you can't be punished for anything ever, and you go out and murder rape a bunch of people, and they're like, well, they can't be punished. They're like, no one's above the law, so that's fine. That's not what people mean, though. They mean that the law is applied blindly and equally. It's fucking not. It's obviously fucking not. You guys know people. You guys know people. There are news stories over and over and over about people getting out of shit. Why? Because of their status. For one reason or another. Either an unofficial handjob agreement. Handshake agreements are so passe. Handjob agreements are the new hotness. Either they get over a lawsuit or get out of a lawsuit or a criminal charge from a handjob agreement, or there's simply some sort of immunity that's granted to them. Qualified immunity, let's just stop for a second here. Let's just apply the basic principles of qualified immunity here. Are these acts, alleged illegal acts of Donald Trump, commit by a state official or federal official acting within the course of their duties in a discretionary capacity? Yes, qualified immunity. Unless the constitutional rights, established constitutional rights, are deprived of someone else. Qualified immunity in and of itself may immunize Trump here in some sort of way, but the president not having qualified immunity doesn't really make sense. Unless you say, well, the president is special. He is the head of the executive, so he's not following orders of the executive or a discretionary policy. And since he's creating the acts as president, as the chief executive, he doesn't get qualified immunity. Well, that's fine. But wouldn't he get presidential immunity then? Because can't he then effectively make his act not illegal by refusing to enforce it? Again, these are weird concepts, and they're all created by the courts, and they've created a fucking mess. Let's be honest. None of this had to happen this way. They just created this conveniently over time, and now it's biting them in the dick. So good. Fuck them. Fuck government, by the way. Fuck the government forever. But this idea that no one is above the law as this simple truism to say about, well, anyone can be prosecuted for anything no matter who they are isn't true. Congress is above the law on insider trading. They're above that law. They're not above all of the law. There's a law that says they can insider trade. Oh, cool. That makes them not above it, guys. The force of that principle is at its zenith. That's the tippy top. Jack Smith knows nothing about being a zenith. I think he knows a lot about being a nadir. At the bottom. If I type in nadir into Google, would just have a picture of Jack Smith's butthole. Yep. Wow. Can't show that on stream. As here, grand jury is accused of former president of committing federal crimes to subvert the peaceful transfer of power to his lawfully elected successor. Interesting again, because it never happened. Smith wrote in his request to the justices, nothing could be more vital to our democracy than that a president who abuses the electoral system to remain in office is held accountable for criminal conduct. This is amazing. Trump did not actually in any way abuse the electoral system or remain in office. How could you accuse President Trump of abusing the electoral system to remain in office if he neither in any way impacted the electoral system? The electoral votes that were predicted on the day after election day, when the votes were tallied, that were eventually read into Congress, I think in the early morning hours of January 7th, and under which Joe Biden was inaugurated, were the exact same. It was a consistent number from jump. Nothing ever changed. The numbers that Biden received as electoral votes were the exact same as the predicted numbers of the election outcome. Despite all efforts of Trump to legally impact this, he never did. How can you say he abused the electoral system? By what manner? That's like saying you went into a jewelry store, you asked the jeweler to give you a necklace so you could walk out the door. You said, actually, I own that necklace, and I'm going to prove to you that I own it. I'm going to contact the sheriff, and then I'm going to go to court, and I'm going to get an order that says I own that necklace. So I need you to give it to me now. And they go, nah, bro, you don't own the necklace. You go, okay, you're going to hear from my lawyer. They serve the papers. Jewelry store responds, says, nope, this is our necklace. We can prove we bought it or whatever, or acquired it through our normal inventory means. This person's crazy. They don't have any right to the necklace. And they do that. And then the court rules, yeah, actually, the jewelry store owns the necklace. You don't own the necklace. And you go, fuck, I think I own that necklace. I have all sorts of things saying I own the necklace. They go, but you don't own the necklace, bro. So then you go to the media and you're like, well, I took him to court. The court's cucked out and says that I can't prove I own the necklace. I can prove. They didn't let me show the documents and say I proved the necklace. I own the necklace. But fuck me, I own this necklace. It was my mother's. I got it from her. This court, the court is in collusion with the jewelry store and they're lying about me owning the necklace. You still don't own the necklace, right? The jewelry store still has the necklace, no matter all of this. Now the cops come and charge you criminally with stealing the necklace. You say it's critical that we got to stop these fucking thieves from stealing necklace. That's what happened. That's actually what happened here. What they're saying is that Donald Trump somehow abused the electoral system to get the necklace that he doesn't have. He subverted the system entirely to get, and he disrupted the ownership of the necklace, none of which happened. And that by speaking out about it and saying this is bullshit after losing, that somehow creates criminal liability. That's retarded. That's the dumbest fucking thing you've ever seen. That's the easiest way to break down what has actually happened to Donald Trump, is this analogy of doing a mundane thing, of disputing something, losing the dispute, complaining about that, and then being like, well, fuck you, that's a criminal charge. Then how the fuck is that a criminal charge? How is it a criminal charge to complain about something you perceive as unfair? Remember, he's not charged. I don't think he's charged with incitement. I don't think he's been charged with incitement because they know they're going to get fucked on that. Adam A says, losing. Losing in quotes. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter if you agree with the court. Guys, almost everyone who loses in court disagrees with the court. They still lose. Like they do. Even if they're right. Correct people lose in court all the time. All the time. It's not the most fair system. It's just a better system than everybody using their dicks to stab people in the eyes or mouths or belly buttons. I don't know. Where do people stab people with dicks? I never learned this. I assume that's why God gave them to men. Where's the criminal conduct? Where's the criminal act? Where's the success of it? The success of it matters. The attempted criminality matters. Now, if you're in the jewelry store and you grab the necklace and bolt off and then say, no, I own this necklace, but you actually convert the ownership to yourself temporarily and you're found to be wrong, that's a criminal act. Like you snatch it, grab, run, you don't have permission, and then you're found to not own it. Yeah, it's probably theft. But if you didn't actually take it, you didn't do the snatch and grab, you didn't run, you never took the necklace, how can you be accused of stealing it? Anyway, fucking wild. The special counsel argued that it is of imperative public importance that Trump's claims of immunity be resolved by the Supreme Court. I actually agree, but I think the Supreme Court obviously wants to hear the district court's or the DC Circuit's opinion. And if they are rejected, for his trial to proceed as promptly as possible. Smith has repeatedly said it's in the public interest for the March trial to proceed on time. This is actually not true. Well, it's not true that it's in the public interest for it to proceed on time. It's in Jack Smith's interest and the Democrat Party's interest for it to proceed on March time. But March was never a reasonable trial date for Donald Trump. March was a selected trial date to create maximum damage during the presidential campaign. Iman Razu says he tried to get the last fucking drop that wasn't there. Wrong, bitch. It was in there. Actually, there's a little bit more. Another drop. Want me to get it? Oh, I got on my lip. So many people. So many people. Trump's lawyers have urged the Supreme Court not to decide the issue of his immunity until after the D.C. Circuit could examine the matter. They accuse Smith of pursuing President Biden's partisan interests, which obviously they are. Special counsel's extraordinary request, combined with its vague, threadbare justification, creates the compelling appearance of a partisan motivation to ensure that President Trump, leading Republican candidate for president and the greatest electoral threat to President Biden, will face a months-long criminal trial at the height of his presidential campaign, the former president's legal team wrote. They argued that in asking the Supreme Court to fast-track the case and leapfrog the appeals court, the special counsel was urging the justices to rush to decide the issues with reckless abandon. An erroneous denial of a claim of presidential immunity from criminal prosecution for official acts warrants this court's review in due course. Lawyers John Sauer, John Laurel, and Todd Blanche wrote, "Those don't sound very Jewish, Trump. Yet importance does not automatically necessitate speed." And that's a very, very good line. In fact, as I inferred, I won't say objectively, I think subjectively. I inferred earlier in the show that I think the Supreme Court refusing the expedited schedule is an indication that they are taking it very seriously because they have to create new law. And they're going to get as much argument, they're going to have as much briefing on it, and they're going to have as much quote-unquote learned opinion on this as possible. So I think that line right there is very good. Importance does not automatically necessitate speed. And in fact, sometimes importance necessitates slow care. This is an issue of first impression before all of these courts. And to suggest that it can all just be fast-tracked with expedited and shortened briefing schedules is to belie the important nature of the fundamental change to fundamental, I guess, clarification of Article 2 of the Constitution that they're asking this Supreme Court to make. This will be a landmark decision. It will go in every single law school constitutional powers course that will happen. This will become something. This will become something that every law student will have to read as required reading for their con law course. They'll have to, because it will fundamentally change the power of the president. However it goes. So, very interesting stuff. The way Trump is changing executive law, executive jurisprudence, I should say, is amazing. Someone said Trump is the most historic president or most historic president. He may be the president with the most impact in refining the scope of the executive power in recent memory. And maybe one of the most impactful ever, coming down to people like FDR. The amount of ire that Trump has raised from his political opponents that has been actually translated into going after Donald Trump. I mean, he's the first indicted president, federally indicted president. He's the first president impeached twice, both unsuccessful. Actually, I think that there's a good argument that Trump has only been actually impeached once, and that the second impeachment trial is void. But that's a whole nother discussion. And the best part of that is the Supreme Court would have to decide. And here's what I hope happens. I hope that Trump wins the election. And then I hope that the Democrats in the Senate argue that Donald Trump's impeachment was not effectively done because his second impeachment trial was not presided over by John Roberts as Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, and the Constitution requires that the impeachment of a president is overseen by the Chief Justice. And I think that's an interesting argument. I think that the Senate Democrats could sue Senate Republicans to force them to hear the impeachment trial, or sue the, whoever the fucking president of the Senate is at the time, and force them to hold an impeachment trial of Donald Trump after being elected and inaugurated as president and presided over by John Roberts. And then the court would have to rule on whether the impeachment of a non-sitting president must be presided over by the Chief Justice. Interesting question, right? Now, the court could just simply say that the second impeachment was moot, and then Trump wouldn't be a twice impeached president. He would be a singularly impeached president. Or they could rule that the Senate impeachment trial was invalid. There's no time frame on an impeachment trial. We just know that John Roberts didn't preside over it. Or we could find out that the Supreme Court decides that the Chief Justice does not have to sit over the impeachment trial of a former president, even though the impeachment was filed prior to him not being president, because they were scared. I think the day before he left office, they were scared of him not being president and trying to impeach him as a private citizen. Because can you do that? Maybe. I don't know. It's all new law. And that one's still unresolved. But if Trump wins again, some brave soul has a chance to bring it up and make the Supreme Court answer the fucking question. I think it's a good argument that he was not actually tried and impeached in his second trial. What would that do? That'd be really fucking interesting if they win that argument and then the impeachment trial happens right at the beginning of the Trump presidency and then they go for removal. What if they get enough political power at that point, enough political will to remove Trump? Holy shit, civil war. Holy shit, civil fucking war. And I don't know anybody else talking about that or making that argument, but that's been my argument for a long time. So if a civil war starts over Donald Trump getting reelected, his impeachment reinstated, and him successfully being removed from office and then disqualified from holding office again, I want some fucking credit for starting Civil War 2.0. That's what I want. No, Tim Pool does not get this. He does not get this. If that motherfucker tries to take this, I will beat him to death with his guitar in front of his chickens. I will stomp that motherfucker into the ground in front of his chickens. I'll make them cry. I'll bury his mutilated body in Chicken City. And I'll light that bitch on fire. We'll play taps. He can't take this from me. I just think it's an interesting question, man. This is the main thing I've liked about Trump forever. I liked some of this shit about Obama because of this too. Finding the ends of presidential authority has not been tested because the judiciary doesn't want to go against the president. They lose. And the Congress doesn't want to go against the president. They lose a lot. So what happens? What happens in all this stuff? We don't know. And I want to know. Don't you want to know? Don't you want to know that outcome? You want to see how far a president can go? I do. We got to find out at some point. Packer, what, drinking on stream again? Dude, buddy, 6 years. Almost every stream. All right. Let's hit a couple more of these chats. And then we'll move over to Rumble exclusively. Thank you for blessing me for that sneeze. Renegenic says a tautology is a tautology is a tautology. Jay Lieb got toast to the new rescue in our lives. Cheers, Izzy. Welcome to your forever home. Hey, cheers to Izzy. Welcome to your new home, your new family. May you and they adjust to each other and become lifelong companions. Let's go. Brandon, can I briefly interrupt? No. And ask for a quick update on your case at a good break. Merry Christmas. Yes, my case is waiting for the appeals court to, I think the appeals court will hear oral argument on my case. I don't know the schedule because I don't really look. It has been briefed fully. So my attorneys filed the appeal brief. Their attorneys responded, and my attorneys have filed a reply brief, which we will probably cover after the segment on the Rippaverse, which will be after this Rumble flip. And now it'll be a good oral before the appeals court. And then, of course, the appeals court will make their ruling. However they make their ruling, either party may petition the Minnesota Supreme Court. Since this is a matter of, I think, first impression here, it's possible the Supreme Court would grant cert. It's very unlikely that they would. They'd probably just go with the appeal court ruling. I don't know how that will go. I think my attorneys have made great arguments about it. I think their attorneys have made an argument that is not upheld or not sustained by reality. We'll read in the reply brief exactly why. I read the response brief the other day. We went through it a couple days ago. But the reply brief kind of just goes straight to the heart of the matter and attacks it. I am not an expert on this field of law. And in fact, Minnesota just does not have a robust amount of case law on it. It's very much a matter of first impression on or a novel issue, I should say, to these courts. So we'll see what happens. I think my attorneys make great arguments. Again, I'm biased. I'm trying to even account for that because I was fully prepared for them to have a good argument on why Colorado law should not apply. They made their argument. It kind of just misrepresents Colorado law from what it looks like, which is, again, the reply brief will lay that out. And if they misrepresent Colorado law and my lawyers are correct, then the appeals court has a tough question. They have to do whatever they're going to do. We're probably going to talk about that later in the evening. Happy to give that update, but it's now going to be pending oral argument at the appeals court. And that oral argument will be really interesting. May try and record it. We got to figure out what date it is, or live stream it. That'd be funny. But yeah, because if the reply brief is correct, if my lawyer's briefing is correct, if my lawyers are experts on this subject, in fact, my lawyers are the people who make law on this subject, and have specifically made law in other jurisdictions on this subject. If they're right on it, I mean, Monty's appeal or Monty's appellate team has trouble, but I don't want to oversell it because I don't know. I don't have any experience in this. Most lawyers you meet in Minnesota will not have ever seen this issue. Peter Klein says, I'll probably lose the appeal, which you're basing on literally nothing. Would be funny if I win the appeal and then failed when Colorado law was applied. I mentioned that as a possibility, winning the appeal and failing when Colorado was applied. Again, that would have to ignore the summary judgment standard. There are no material facts in dispute. The only material fact, as acknowledged by the judge, by the way, the only material fact that is missing is Montegraff's alleged damages. And the only reason that is missing is because Montegraff hasn't provided them. And he's the only one with access to that information. His lawyers and he have not provided it. Why? I don't know. They wanted discovery for that information, which is silly because they don't need discovery for that information. They're lying about all of it. They're lying about that. But Montegraff should be able to just produce his damages. His YouTube analytics exist. Any business contracts that he may have lost exist. And any medical bills that he's had to take for his very serious therapy that he's going through, that he definitely wasn't going through beforehand because he's definitely not crazy. All of those exist, and he has access to all of them. I have access to 0 of them. He has not produced that element. That's up to him to produce that. But we haven't disputed any of them. They haven't been raised. None of this has been raised at all. So the status of the case is if we win on this appeal, it gets remanded to the district court to apply Colorado law. If my lawyers are correct, which would mean we win, then Colorado law is applied as a summary judgment standard, which means that there are no material facts in dispute. And therefore, it's a matter of law on the ruling. Have they met the elements to sustain this, or can they show a material fact in dispute? Where have we disputed a material fact? Anywhere in this case. And if you don't understand how important that is to summary judgment, I don't know what to tell you, but the who, me, saying what I said about who, Montegraph, has never been disputed at all. We've accepted all of them. We just argue that under the law, they're not defamatory. They don't meet the requisite level of liability. They're non-defamatory opinions. All of that is a legal argument that can be settled at summary judgment. But you have to have the material facts in dispute or not in dispute. They haven't raised any material facts that are in dispute at this point. If it goes back, summary judgment should apply, and I would think would weigh in our favor. But it is possible that the judge would say summary judgment applies and weighs in Monograph's favor. No material facts are in dispute, but this is legally defamation, and therefore he's entitled to the damages he asked for, or some level of damages. Okay, maybe that's the outcome. We'll see. I have never taken this crazy stance on. I fully believe everything I said is well established online, that I have had plenty to reasonably base my assertions off of, based not only on 10 years of history on Montegraph online, but also my own deduction from his own statements. These are my opinions. They're actually worded as opinions if you read them. But hey, it's up to the court to apply that standard and to apply law. As of right now, they simply said summary judgment was not relevant at this time under Minnesota law. It is relevant under Colorado law, though. So if we win on Colorado law, goes to summary judgment. If we lose on Colorado law, discovery happens, then we ask for summary judgment again. If we win on Colorado law but lose on the summary judgment, then it will go to trial. Well, discovery and then trial. So I don't know the outcome. I've never suggested otherwise. A lot of other people have taken some very chest puffy opinions on this, and they ignore all of the legal standards, and they also ignore all of the lack of legal rulings on this particular issue. And there's a reason they have, Peter Klein. Because like you, they have literally failed to remove their subjective dislike of me from their analysis. Because Peter Klein, it's pretty obvious that you're mad at me for something, or you think I'm bad for some reason. Unrelated to this, you have not objectively reviewed this case. You probably don't understand what you say, and I can tell because you just cited defamation per se. You think that defamation per se is an automatic win. Defamation per se is not an automatic win. Defamation per se just means one element of defamation is satisfied, which is damages. There are 5 elements. All of them have to be satisfied for a case to move forward at summary judgment. Keep going, though. I'm sure your legal discourse from Kiwi Farms will get you all of the joy in the world, and you can go ahead and celebrate your victory. I am watching this play out because I have no idea. I believe I'm in the right. I've been wrong plenty of times in the past, and so have several other people. You believe I'm in the wrong, but your reasons are pretty obvious. So cheers to you, brother. Enjoy it. You can say it all day, and we'll see. Should I lick the bottle for you? Will that make you happy? So silly. Jesus Davila says, I wanted to wish you and your family, mods, chat. Don't wish mods. Chats, lurkers, and listeners out there, Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to them, of course. Zachary Keith Hasbrook says, Juice says he will make up if you sober up, Bisque. No, I don't ever care to talk to Josh again. And I'm certainly not going to do some bullshit extortion based on his opinions that are literally retarded. So sorry, Josh, I reached out to you. You won't talk to me. You're going to talk to your audience instead. Go ahead. I'll never stop you. Let's go. Brandon says you can't drink on stream anymore. Cheers to all being alive and merry in a few days. You're right. Let's go. I'm done drinking on stream until 5 minutes from now. Endless 013 says, what if you rented the necklace 4 years and on return, dare you say, I want another lease, and someone watching calls the cops and said you tried to steal it? Similar. similar. Ginger Ninja 1776 says, Robert Gouveia read that amicus brief live on Watching the Watchers is an incredible brief, worth a read, spelled out very well. Barnes or no Barnes, it would be awesome for a live show. I agree. And again, I have nothing but respect for Gouveia. I think he's a rock solid dude, great broadcaster, great attorney. I would defer to his opinion on it because he's more versed in this law. He's more immersed in the story than I am. But I'd love to have the discussion. Peter Klein, on this, I will agree. You said, we will see. I think Monty has already got more than he could have ever could have hoped from the lawsuit. Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree with you on that. He's achieved his goal. I don't think his lawyer or him thought he could win. But hey, I thought they thought they could cause me financial harm, and they did. Great. Got it. Good job. Gag says the first rule of Tautology Club is the first rule of Tautology Club. I like that. All right, guys. That is it on YouTube. We are actually going to flip over to Rumble now. Rumble exclusively. And we will continue the show. After the flip, I'm going to go to the bathroom for just a second. But then we will be right back. We're going to get into the Rippaverse ISOM trademark settles. I'll probably have just final closing words on the Jack Smith thing because it's such interesting, novel law. No one knows the answers to this. The answers haven't been written. That's the most important part of the Jack Smith shit. The answers have not been written. So anyone who tells you they definitely know the answer can't, because the Supreme Court has never addressed this issue. They've only addressed it in dicta. Dicta does not matter. It can be persuasive, but it cannot be controlling on any court, including a current Supreme Court. So the Supreme Court will be creating law and creating history. And that is something to be fucking marveled at, that we get to be a part of that timeline on such an important issue. So I love it. I love all the opinions of it. I have none. I can tell you what I think should happen, which I have, and we'll give those closing thoughts. But then we are going into the ISOM Rippaverse trademark settlement, which, again, despite weirdos online saying otherwise, I always wanted this case resolved. I did not think that it should have been brought by ISOM. I did worry that Eric July and the audience, most importantly, the Rippaverse audience, were pushing him towards a potential good trademark infringement suit from a bad trademark infringement suit. I did wonder if that was going to happen. I was mildly laughing at it just because of how adamantly people get. And it's like, dude, you guys aren't making it better. But I've always maintained that this lawsuit should not happen. Eric should not have to deal with it, even though I'm a
white bread ass niggas, man.
And I'm glad that it is apparently it's resolved. So we're going to watch Eric's video. We're going to talk about it. We'll see if we can discover anything from it. I've only heard people's opinions about it. I've not watched the video. So it's going to be a matter of first impression for me. And we'll give you my, my honest feedback and see if I can derive anything from it. I'm guessing Eric's pretty close to the cuff on this one, and that everything will be on the up and up, and we won't learn anything from it, but we can give some thoughts. And hopefully I can dispel some nasty rumors about settlements, which I don't know why people think these things, but hey, you never figure out why people think things. You just figure out that they do. With that, let's go to Rumble. See you soon, YouTube. Remember, tomorrow is, tomorrow, the 23rd is Saturday. There is no YouTube show. There may be a movie night, which would be backwards. And then Sunday is Christmas Eve. There may hopefully be a Christmas Eve show with Ty and maybe another guest or two somewhere around 11 to midnight after I'm done hanging out with my wife and children on Christmas Eve. Try to do the Christmas Eve shows usually with Ty. So we will try to make that happen. And then there will be no show Christmas Day on Monday. So in case you missed that at the beginning, I will see you guys later. We're off to Rumble, baby. Have a good night. Peace. Peace, YouTube.